Hey guys, it's Maddie, and today I'll be reviewing Infinity by Jus Accardo. So it's going to be super hard to explain the summary of this book without giving too much away, because this is kind of a book you have to just go into without knowing a lot about, but I'm going to try my best to summarize it without giving too much away throughout this whole video. So this book is about Corey, and her father, who is the general of the military, has to have her babysat because she gets into a lot of trouble by herself. She likes to vandalize property, like making graffiti or just murals out of walls that is public property, so she gets in trouble for that a lot. So her father goes away for a few days, and so he sends these two guys to babysit her. And one night while she's being watched, she sneaks out of the house to go check out a mural or artwork that she made on a wall, and she runs into this guy who she met before but she's meeting for a second time, who suddenly starts assaulting her and asking her if she knows this girl that he's trying to look for and who she is, but she obviously doesn't know. And from there, certain events start happening where she finds out that the two guys who are watching her are not exactly what they seem. And that is pretty much all I can say about this book. But the other thing about this book that I do want to mention is that the whole gist of this book is about traveling through dual dimensions. Turns out there's a top secret government agency who is working on a project where you are able to travel to different dimensions of Earth. And that aspect comes into play with Corey's world and these two guys. The plot in this book was so unpredictable, which I really loved. I loved when I go into a book not really knowing what the plot is really about, and while I'm reading it, I'm just not really expecting where it's going. Within the first, 5 chapters of this book, there were so many questions running through my mind, and I was like, why is he doing this? What's going on? Like, what is happening? And I liked how I had so many questions, and because I had so many questions, like at the end of the chapter, there would be like a new question would come up, and I'd still want to keep on reading because I wanted to find out the answers. And when a book can make me do that, I really appreciate that, because it's really a talent to have each chapter end with a question all the time, and you still want to keep reading to find out more. So I really like that about it. And the concept of traveling through dual dimensions is so cool. I've never read a book or heard about a book that dealt with traveling through different dimensions of Earth, and I think that concept is so cool. And I also want to say, if any of you guys know any books that have this concept of traveling to different dimensions of Earth, please leave book recommendations down below so I can read them, because I'm really intrigued by this concept and I want to read more revolving around this concept. The one thing I had a little bit of a problem, though, it's not a big deal, but I went into this book expecting to see a lot of traveling through different dimensions, but that wasn't really in the book at all. It was more of, this book was about this guy coming from another dimension of Earth, and he has a plan to kill some people. So Corey and these two boys who are watching her are trying to stop him. It wasn't all about traveling through different dimensions. So I wish we could have seen more traveling through the different dimensions of Earth. But I do think we're going to get more of that in the sequel. It's set up that there's going to be a lot of time traveling through different dimensions in the sequel, so I'm fine with that. I just wish we could have saw a little bit of that in this book. The characters in this book were super likable. I really enjoyed Corey's character. She came off as a very funny and really snarky kind of girl, which I wasn't expecting going into her character, but she turned out to be, number one of the most rebellious teenagers I've ever read about, but she was also so snarky and so sarcastic, and I really love those kind of characters. I love reading about them, so I really like that part of her character a lot. And she is also someone who really enjoys doing art, since she does vandalize property by painting like murals and stuff, which I think is really cool, so I like her artistic side as well. She's also someone who is still grieving because she lost her mom to cancer a few years ago, so she is still grieving because of that, and is still finding it hard to get over the fact that her mother died, which I know the losing a parent trope is used so often, but I still really felt bad for her because she was still trying to get over her mother's passing, even though it's been like 2 years or so later. Another main character in this book is Kaede. I found it difficult to get into his character at first because he wasn't extremely likable at first, but his actions are justified as time goes on, and he started to grow on me a lot. So I really enjoyed both of these characters and really just was really interested in their story. The romance is the one part of this book where I'm going to be super, super, super vague because parts of the romance in this book will be spoiled for you if I go too far into it, so I'm gonna like gloss over my thoughts on the romance. I really enjoyed the romance in this book. At first it came off really, really, really insta-lovey, which when I when I was like 50%, not 50%, like 50 pages into this book, the romance like started like that, and I'm like, whoa, whoa, what? We're only on the 50th page and they're already like making out, and I'm like, what is going on right here? But the thing is that the romance being insta-love is justified later on in the book. You find out why it happens so fast, which when I found that out, I was like, oh, okay, I'm fine with the romance being insta-love. But even though it was justified, there were some parts that I did feel like were still insta-lovey. One of the persons in the relationship um, reason for insta love was justified for me, but the other person's wasn't because their situation was completely different. So the reason I would slightly had a problem with the romance, not too much, was that there was some parts of it that were kind of insta-lovey, and I wasn't all about that. But other than that, I loved the romance. I love these two characters together. They really had a really strong connection that I just enjoyed. And I found it really interesting about this romance because it was super, super steamy. Like, I haven't read a young adult book with this steamy of a romance in a long time, or maybe even ever. Like, this book was probably like borderline new adult because it was like that steamy. So I found that really funny, but also really, I just enjoyed the romance. So, and the romance in this book plays a big, big, big part in the story. So I really like that about it, like a romance that plays such a big part in a sci-fi story. I think that's really cool. So I really enjoyed the romance and relationships in this book. This writing was so addicting, so much so that I think I'm going to read her other series. I think she has one more series out that sounds really good. So I want to read more of her books because her writing was just so good. It was so poetic and just beautiful and easy to read, and I just enjoyed every word spoken in this book. I also found her writing to be really kind of sarcastic at times, which I love that kind of writing style too. So I really love this writer's writing style, and I can't wait to read more of her books. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. There were obviously just teensy, teensy little problems I had with it, but I overall just loved this book. And the fact that it's a sci-fi book, and I'm someone who hates sci-fi, like I hate reading sci-fi, I hate watching sci-fi movies, they're not my thing. The fact that I like this book and it's a sci-fi book really speaks volumes to how much I've really just loved it and enjoyed it. So if you have not given this book a go yet, I highly recommend it, especially if you love sci-fi and romance, because those are two big things that play a part in this book. And if you want to read a book that has to do with traveling to different dimensions of Earth, really would recommend this one as well. And I also want to give a big thank you to the publisher and Tiggle team for sending this to me. I did not expect to get this. This came in the mail, like, and I was like, what? I got a book? I was like so excited, so I wanted to read it right away, and I don't think I would have ever found out about this book without it being sent to me. So I really appreciate that, and yeah, that was just really awesome, and I'm so glad I read it. So thank you guys so much for watching this review of Infinity. I hope you guys enjoyed.